everyone, my name is Amanda and this is my channel, Make It Destination. Welcome back. I just want to say thank you to everyone who supported my first video. We got 16 likes, which was over my goal, so thank you so much. And we got 98 views, so I feel very blessed in that aspect. So I bet you're wondering what my second video is going to be about, and since we decided that Airbnb was the way to go, I'm going to show you how to choose an Airbnb. So let's get to it. Alright y'all, I'm going to show you how I choose an Airbnb and what features I like to see and the process that I go through when I choose one. But first, let's smash that like button. My goal for this video is 25 likes, since last time my goal was 5 likes and I got 16, so I thought why not raise the bar? So let's get started on smashing that like button. Alright, well let's get to it. So there are 3 things that I look for when booking an Airbnb. The first thing I will say is location, location, location. Like in real estate, when you choose an Airbnb, location is super important. Now, what I try to keep in mind and what I've learned over the years of using Airbnb is that choosing a central location is better for your wallet than you think. So even though on the Airbnb website, it may be more expensive to stay in a central location, you're in the middle of it all. So you could walk to a coffee shop, you could walk to a restaurant, you could walk to all of your points of interest, right? Whereas if you choose something kind of on the outskirts, it might seem cheaper on the Airbnb website, right? You might be paying like $200 to $300 less. But when you get there, you are going to be paying more in transportation costs. Whether that's a bus, subway, Uber, Lyft, any of those, you're going to have to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and those costs add up. You know, so every time I've thought, hey, I got a deal like right outside the city, let me, Uber in or take an Uber out or whatever the case may be, it always seems to be more expensive than just getting an Airbnb in a central location where I could walk everywhere. So moving on to my second feature that I look for is the style of it. So I think every traveler should kind of have a travel vision for themselves before any trip, right? So if you're going to Palm Springs and you're looking for that mid-century modern kind of 1950s and 60s vibe, definitely try to find an Airbnb that fits that vision, right? Get a mid-century modern house, see what it's like, so that you could immerse yourself into the location, right? You're here to have a unique, fun experience. So I don't think it's wrong to pay a little extra or go outside your comfort zone and find a style that suits your travel vision. And lastly, the third thing that I look for are unique features of the home, right? So they could be architectural features that might fit the geographic location of the home, or it might be a hot tub, a pool. It could even be that it's a treehouse in the Adirondacks, right? It's just something different. I think that in and of itself is kind of what adds to your travel experience, right? So I try to look for unique features just to add a little oomph to my trip. So those are the 3 things that I look for. But right now I'm gonna change gears a little bit, and I'm going to show you how I go through Airbnb and kind of determine which one I'm going to choose. I'm going to show you the process, kind of how to compare maps with your points of location in Airbnb. Airbnb has updated itself to have more points of interest within the system, but every year Sam and I go away for our birthdays, even during this whole situation. For my birthday we went to Rhode Island, and that was a lot of fun. So we'll thank you for his birthday. His birthday's in April. I always try to book things a few months in advance, because if you do that, you could find more deals and you also have more options, right? If you do it like a week or 2 before, there might only be a handful of Airbnbs, but if you do it a few months before, there will be a lot more options. So we're thinking about going to Austin, Texas for his birthday. Hopefully it happens. But yeah, we're gonna kind of flip the switch. You're going to see my computer screen, and I'm going to show you how I choose an Airbnb, and this hopefully will help you when it comes time to choosing yours. So yeah, stay tuned, y'all. Alright, y'all. So now you can see my screen. So this is Austin, Texas. Kind of has like a different layout than some cities that I've been to. But you can see kind of like the central hub here is right right where my mouse is. And then this is kind of like the outskirts here. So you see like it's cheaper to stay right here, right? It's $85 instead of like $188 or $179 or $100. But again, you're going to have to pay to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And as you can see, Airbnb has changed its layout to show you, you know, kind of the points of interest, right? Like you see here, Texas Capitol, you know, Barton Springs Pool, like all of this stuff is right in the middle of the downtown area. So I'm looking here and I kind of look at like the first few pictures, right? This isn't really my style. I don't know what Austin, like what their, I guess, architectural style is. But this has a unique feature right here. Look at that heated pool. That's nice. Yeah, it's a little more. It is in a central location though. And it's Airbnb Plus. So if you don't know what Airbnb Plus, you know, this is just my definition of it. It's an elevated experience. Also, they've had actual Airbnb photographers go in and verify this is exactly what it looks like. So it is a more verified or like insured sort of way to stay, but like look how beautiful that is, right? Like this is kind of like my travel vision, right? It's warm in Austin. You kind of have a little bit of that farmhouse feel. So, you know, you click on it. Airbnb Plus. Okay, you see who it's hosted by, the price. I always like to see how much like the cleaning fee is. Some people charge outrageous cleaning fees, but you know, with the whole situation now, I'd rather see a cleaning fee there because at least I know it's being sanitized. And they even have an enhanced clean portion here, free cancellation, the house rules, right? I always like reading their little thing here. We don't have to go through that right now. But just looking here, you know, you see the total $919. I personally think that's a lot for 4 nights, but you are getting a pool, which is cool. Hey, that rhymed. Okay. But you know, you see the reviews, and he has 4.96, which is great for 600 reviews. But I always like seeing the map, right? So I like to zoom out a little bit. So if I wanted to stay in downtown Austin, you see, it's not too much of a trek, but I couldn't walk there, you know, at least from what the map says. I would have to do some further research, but if this is where I want to be, you know, this is a little far out. Not saying it's super far out, but I'm definitely going to have to pay a little extra for transit costs, right? So scrolling down, oh, this is my style too. I don't know why, I just love the industrial style. And it's $87 a night. That's a good find. It's also a rare find. I always like seeing that. So yeah, I kind of just go through and see the location and kind of what experience that they're giving me, right? Like, even though this is further away, you're getting a modern cabin retreat. So if you're going to Austin to have a relaxing trip, this would be perfect for you, right? It's outside of the city, it looks quiet, you have a pool, it looks like a little sanctuary. But if you're looking to stay in central Austin, right, this little casita could be good for you. And again, this is going to take time, but I think this is the exciting part of planning a trip, is going through and looking at, you know, where you're going to stay, right? Is it right for you and the people or person that you're going with, right? Like looking through these, you know, I know Sam would love this because there's a guitar. He's into playing guitar, so he would love that. You know, I always try to think about him when I'm choosing a place to stay as well, because I want him to enjoy it as well, and you want the people that you're going with to like the one that you went with, right? So going down, I always like to see these little tags here, like a lower price. Your dates are $78 less than average. That's always good to know. And then the reviews again. But I always like looking at amenities too. Like I said before, Sam and I, like, we do not do well in the heat. We need air conditioning, so we need that. Oh, as a record player, you got fun with that. You know, so I like doing this. I don't know why. I just like researching. But again, this is going to take time. But, you know, if you want a fun, interactive sort of trip, it's going to take time for you to choose, right? Just to go down. And you don't have to go through every single one, but do you see how many options I have? Like, we are months out, right? It's December. I'm scrolling. Like, I have a lot of options here. If this was like a week or two before, I wouldn't have this many options. Also, there's some filters here that you could do, you know, your type of place. I always like having the entire place because I like my privacy. You know, kudos to people who could do a shared room or a private room. I'm just not that much of a liberal traveler. And then your price. And then you could have more filters. Like sometimes I really you know, want a pool, right? I want a hot tub, like, woo, let me click that. Of course, you're not going to have as many stays if you do that, but it's always nice to know what your options are. So that's kind of the process that I go down. And then let me just get rid of this hot tub thing here. So then what I do is if I find something that I like, let's just favorite that. And then I have a list. Sam's 22nd birthday is already there. And then it's saved to that. And then I sit with him and we kind of see the prices, right? Let's just say we compare these two. So this one is $873 and this one's $436, right? And again, this one is actually closer to what we want to do than this one. So we most likely would go with the casita. But I mean, this one has a heated pool. So, it just goes a little back and forth and it depends on your travel vision. But just remember, location, your style, and the unique features. Those are the 3 things you should be looking for. So let's return back to the other side of the screen so y'all can see me for a little bit. Okay, well, I hope that helped you kind of wander through Airbnb's website and determine the best Airbnb for you for your next trip. And if Sam and I do go to Austin, Texas, I'll make sure to show y'all, the Airbnb we choose and do a little vlog on that. I think that would be fun to show you which one I went with and how I decided to go about that. So just to end off the video, I just want to tell you about my favorite Airbnb experience, and it was when Sam and I went to Electric Zoo for our first time together, and we got an Airbnb in Brooklyn because it's a lot cheaper to stay in Brooklyn than Manhattan, so we decided to stay in Brooklyn, and it was a massive apartment. Honestly, for New York City, it was huge, but it was beautiful because the host who gave us this Airbnb, he lived there, and then he would rent it whenever he would travel. And it was just so beautiful, like the artwork, the paintings that he chose. And I have to say, that was the comfiest bed I ever slept on. Like, after a festival, after shuffling, dancing, walking around, taking the subway, you're tired by the end of the day. And Sam and I were exhausted, and that bed was so comfy. It really helped us rejuvenate after the first few days of the festival. Also, he left us a bottle of wine, which I thought was pretty nice, too. I think that's kind of the uniqueness that goes into Airbnb is you never know what your host will leave you. So I thought that was sort of cool. So that was a lot of fun. And then another thing I want to bring up, just to end off, other than that, is there are unsaid Airbnb rules. So if you don't know and you haven't used Airbnb, hosts can leave reviews about you just like you leave reviews about the host and their space. So I would say the first one is to make sure you clean up after yourself. I'm not saying you can't have fun and kind of do your thing, but it's definitely different than a hotel in the fact that you should clean up and be considerate. This could be somebody's space that they live in full time and they're just renting it out on the weekends. You just want to be a little more respectful than a hotel room because this is somebody's pride and joy. So you just want to be careful about that. And another thing I want to say is you have to make sure that you read all of the rules that the host puts up on their listing before booking and also when you get there so that you remember. There have been times where Sam and I have experienced miscommunications, and it didn't cause any bad reviews, but it definitely caused a little tension between the host and us. I'll give you 2 examples. One was when we went to Electric Zoo our second year. We stayed in Harlem. And Sam and I do not do well in the heat. We love blasting AC. I know that is not environmentally friendly, but we love blasting AC. So we were we'll go to the grocery store, turn on the AC, have it running so it's cool, and then when we come back, it will be good. But we got a text from the host, and the host was can you not, run the AC when you're not there? And I was ooh, he knew, we did that. So that was a little awkward. I'm glad he at least told us and was, sort of nice about it, but it was a little nerve-wracking in the moment. And the second one was when we stayed in New York City again. Seems like we stay in New York City a lot. So if y'all want a video on how to book a trip to New York City, let us know because we have been numerous amount of times. But we stayed at an Airbnb near the UN, and it was just, it was beautiful, it was nice. But the thing about the city is that I never know, where to put, the trash. Not saying, there's, in the apartment. I'm saying, outside the apartment. Because it's not like the suburbs where, you see the cans right there. So what I did was just grab, all of our trash, take it out, kind of put it, in a corner and, put it all together, right? So I left that there, thought it was fine. I kept the sheets on the bed because I've taken sheets off before, and some hosts are like, please don't do that, whatever the case may be. So we left. Then we got a text when we got home, and she was like, oh, you didn't take the garbage out, you didn't take the recycling out, like there was some hair in the drain. And I was like, I have a lot of hair, so sometimes I just forget, or just like there's some left, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I have a lot of hair, as you can see. So like, she didn't leave a bad review, but like that would have been nice of her to like put into the listing. So just make sure you're kind of like covering your tracks, and you know, maybe even taking pictures before and after of the place, just so somebody can't say you did anything. But just make sure you're considerate of the space, because this is somebody's home and their pride and joy. So I just want to say thank you so much for supporting me. I hope this helped you choose an Airbnb, and until next time, thank you so much, y'all.